Have we actually learned anything 1 year into this pandemic? Hey guys, T2 out here, Titan Preparedness channel. In today's video, I want to talk about lessons that I've personally learned 1 year into this pandemic. Before we get started, two things. Number one, as always, like, comment, subscribe, and share. I greatly appreciate it. Thank you. Number two, I'm going to have to be very careful with the wording of this video. We all know what I'm talking about when I say the pandemic, but if I use the words, YouTube's going to shut this video down. They're going to bury it. And in no way, shape, or form am I insulting anyone that's been affected by this pandemic. I, like many of y'all, have had family, friends who have been affected or have lost lives because of this pandemic. And in no way, shape, or form am I insulting those said people. But we can take a step back and we can look at it with 2020 hindsight, and we can see what lessons we learned and how we can be better prepared for the next one. The first thing that I've learned is people are not prepared. We all knew that going in. We knew that people are not prepared. That's why we're preppers. That's why we're getting into the prepping lifestyle, because during an event, whether it be a power outage or tornado or hurricane, you look and you watch and you see your neighbors and you see how they react, you see how they freak out. And so being a prepper is all about being prepared for an event. This was a hurricane, tornado, a natural disaster on a large scale. I think January, February timeframe was that couple days before the storm hits. People heard about it, people, saw it on the news. No one really cared. Then in March, when they announced lockdowns, that's when people started caring. That's when people were rushing out to the grocery stores and buying everything that they could find. And I remember me, my wife, and our oldest son, we went to the store about the same week that they announced lockdowns. And it was chaos, because every person in the grocery store, besides me and her, had two buggies full, pushing one, pulling the other, slap full of food, slap full of groceries. And you sit there and you wonder, what if this had been a split moment event, like the tornado that we experienced? What if this had happened in the blink of an eye? What if you wake up one day and they said, you know what, everything's locked down? Or what if a tornado had came through, which it did for us? What if the power went out? What if, all of these natural disasters that happen in the blink of an eye, instead of having the 2-week notice, what would those people have done then? It is said that we are 9 miles away from anarchy. And watching how people freaked out because it was originally a 2-week lockdown, people didn't have enough food for a 2-week lockdown. Are you serious? Are you freaking kidding me? The second thing I learned is improvise, adapt, and overcome. Having served in the military and serving even now, that's trained. That's something that is said almost every day. And I think in general, us as humans, we kind of did that. When the mask shortages happened, anyone that knew how to sew, anyone that had a sewing machine, was making masks in their garage, in their backyard, in their building, in their bedrooms. Didn't matter. Every grandma was running a sweatshop to get masks to people. Local dining facilities and restaurants were shut down, at least the indoor dining part. So now these companies and these stores were saying, you know what, we can't have indoor dining, we're going to start running a drive-through service. It was a way for them to keep their businesses open so that they could persevere that next chapter. So I'll give credit where it's due. We as a population persevered pretty decently. The third thing that I learned was that governments and corporations are some of the worst people to make decisions. Locally, our big box store decided that, you know what, we're going to help prevent the spread of this virus. We're going to have an entry door, we're going to have an exit door. That way people, as they're coming in, are not crossing paths. Sounds amazing, sounds perfect. It's a great way to help the flow of traffic. So what did they do? They blocked off all the doors of the store except for one. You had people coming in this door on this side, you had people coming out this door on this side. People are spreading whatever because the only thing separating these two groups of people was a turnstile rope, like you would see at a bank. I don't know about you, but I know that doesn't prevent any viruses. That doesn't block anything. So you had people coughing this way and people coughing that way. It wasn't blocking anything. My wife and I took a trip or two throughout this pandemic, and some of the amusement park type places, you couldn't be within 6 foot of the person in front of you. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, sure. But then as the line looped around, I'm here 6 foot away from the guy in front of me, but shoulder to shoulder with this next guy. So how does that logically make sense? So governments and business owners were making these decisions from some corporate office up in some big city instead of being on the front lines. Now that really plays into part when it comes to different disasters. We as people on the ground see what needs to be done. We see the actions that need to be taken to get a mission accomplished. But let's look at any major natural disaster, Hurricane Katrina, Hurricane Maria. Your guys on the front line knew exactly what needed to be done, when it needed to be done, and how it needed to be done. But the corporate office or the up top governments were not allowing for that. And this plays a whole aspect of being a prepper. You're a prepper because you don't believe that the government can help you during a good disaster. So you have your solar panels, you've got your batteries, you've got ways to communicate, you've got all of this stuff as your backup because you don't want to rely on a government or a corporation to assist you during a disaster. And that's the way it should be. If this pandemic has taught me anything, it has just reassured why I'm a prepper. Because I don't believe in someone up top to make a good decision. Have ways not only to keep you alive, but to keep your resources available, whether it be water, fire, food, shelter, power. Have those resources on hand because eventually the government or some big corporation might actually get their ducks in a row and actually get something done. But by the time they do, it's going to be 6 to 8 months past the point where you actually needed it. Number 4, everyone is an expert, and bad information spreads worse than good information. Since the beginning of this thing, I have been seeing reports, I have been seeing videos, I have been seeing letters, I have been seeing all this information put out. People see this information and they don't take any other information. They see what they want to see and they go, well, this is the information that I'm going to hold on to, even if it's proven false 1,000 times over. Now, the problem with that is bad information spreads worse than good information. Now, with that being said, even the experts that are putting this information out have their own agenda. Think about the entire mask argument. Back in March, people at the CDC were telling you that you don't need a mask. Then in April, oh, you do need a mask. In June, you don't need a mask. Now, masks are mandatory again. Well, how many times has that information changed? Well, no, you don't need a mask because our healthcare workers actually need them. No, you don't need a mask because we, the government officials, actually need them. So these people in higher positions have their own stories to tell. Bad information spreads faster than good information. Now, what if that was a localized event? Let's say a hurricane or tornado. You'll have people on Facebook and all these other social media websites who will tell you bad information because that's what they want to hear or because that's what they heard and that's what they want to spread. So it might be, oh, well, there's going to be a food drop-off in this location. So everyone's going to show up to this location expecting a food drop-off. No one's going to show up because that was some lie that some guy made up just so he could spread his own version of the story. Or maybe it's to distract you, send everyone this way so he can go over here and get his own pickup. Do your research. Do your own research. Don't rely on videos, don't rely on posts, don't rely on other people to tell you how to think. The fifth and sixth thing that I learned from this pandemic, PPE only works if you're smart enough to know how to use it correctly, and people are not smart enough. One of the oddest things I ever saw was back in March. We had 0 cases and 0 deaths in my area, but yet there was a lady walking around in Walmart. She had the face shield. She had a painter's face mask. She had gloves. She was wearing booties on her feet, and she was in scrubs. Now, this lady, I watched her for a little while, pulls her phone out, talks on her phone for a minute, puts the phone back up. Now, if you're wearing gloves, it's to prevent the spread of something. We, on the EMS truck, wear gloves to prevent the spread of bloodborne pathogens. If I touch something bloody, and now I have blood on my hands, before I go to use that hand, whether it be to type up my report or to call my report in on my phone, I take the glove off. I put a fresh glove on. Well, now people who have no experience with PPE, gloves, and mask are walking around like it's a daily object. So they put their gloves on, they put their mask on, they walk around Walmart to pick up their groceries, to pick up their whatever. Now, as they're walking through the store, they're pulling out their cell phone, they're touching their face, they're doing all these things, messing with their hair. And then when they go to their car, they're putting all their groceries in the car, then they're getting in the car, and then they're finally taking their gloves off. After you've already contaminated a million different items, your phone, your keys, your door handles, your steering wheel, and then you finally take the gloves off. People were not smart enough to use it properly. So it's cool that you're walking around looking like you're in MOP level 4, but you're an idiot if you don't know how to use it right. If you're going to have a mask, wear it properly. Don't wear it down here, don't wear it down here, don't pull it down to talk on the phone, don't pull it down to scratch your face. The whole idea is to wear it while you're around people, and then when you're no longer around people, then you take it off. Not take it off when it's convenient for you. You won't see people who wear SCBAs run into a fire and then take their mask off to scratch their face or to talk on the phone in the middle of a burning building, because that would be stupid. But yet the people who are wearing masks and wearing them improperly are just as dumb as that scenario. Again, that's no insult to anyone who's gotten the virus or has been affected by the virus, but just as a general observation, yeah, people are stupid. You know, even preppers fell into that category. I remember back in February, March timeframe, a lot of people were buying up the N95 respirator mask, which are great masks to wear. Those things were like $4 for a 6-pack originally. Then preppers started buying them up, and the price skyrocketed to almost $100 a mask. Well, now you're wearing an N95, which is a great mask, don't get me wrong, but this virus apparently is prevented by a cotton mask. Doesn't really make sense on why you wasted your money, $100 a mask, when a bandana gets the job done apparently. So guys, that was 5-ish things that I learned from this global pandemic. Like I said, it's no insult to anyone that was affected by it, but maybe we can take a step back and learn from it for the next one. What are some things that you learned from it, and how can we be better for the next event, whether it be a natural disaster or another pandemic? Let me know in the comment section. Guys, I hope you have a good day. Hope you're staying safe out there. T2 out.